This is lesson 2.4. Today we will be solving equations with the variable on each side. To solve an equation with variables on both sides, the first thing you have to do is isolate the variable terms to one side of the equation by using inverse operations and working backwards. Let's look at number 1. Write it down, please. 3w plus 2 equals 7w. Please note with me that we have two variable terms and they're not on the same side of the equal sign. If they were on the same side, we could just combine them and solve. But they're not on the same side of the equal sign. They're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and remove one of these terms. Remove one of them from one of the sides of the equation. The goal is usually to remove the smaller of the two. It makes it easier if you remove the smaller one because then the numerical coefficient remains positive. You can only do that if it's possible. In this case, it is possible. The smaller of the two variable terms is 3w. 3w is smaller than 7w. And it is possible to remove 3w because it's not the only term on that side. So let's go ahead and do that. Because 3w is a positive term, we're going to subtract it. And that way, that will remove it from that side of the equation. So 3w minus 3w cancel each other out, equals 0. Bring down the positive 2 equals, and 7w minus 3w is 4w. Okay, now we have a simple one-step equation. To get w alone, we're going to divide by 4. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Please notice, this is 2 divided by 4, not 4 divided by 2. Okay, so all you would need to do here is look at this as 2/4. Go ahead and reduce it. 1/2 equals w, and that is your solution. Okay. Number 2, copy it down, please. 5a plus 2 equals 6 minus 7a. Let's first identify the two variable terms that we have on this problem. We have positive 5a and we have negative 7a. Those are the two terms that we have that are variable terms, and we need to remove one of them. Notice with me again, these two terms are not on the same side of the equal sign, so you cannot combine them. You can't just add them together. If they were on one side of the equal sign, that would have been fine, but they're not. So what we need to do is we need to try to remove the smaller of the two terms. So which is smaller, 5a or negative 7a? Well, obviously negative 7a is smaller. So to the inverse of a minus 7a would be plus 7a. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to always do to the other. Let's bring this down. 5a plus 7a gives us 12a. Bring down the plus 2 equals 6. And then we see here that negative 7a plus 7a cancel each other out, equals 0. All right, let's continue. Now we have a two-step equation. 12a plus 2 equals 6. Let's subtract 2 from both sides first. And here we're left with 12a is equal to 4. And I'm running out of room rather quickly here, but I'm going to try to squeeze it in as best I can. Divide by 12 on both sides. Divide by 12 on both sides. And I'll write it over here. A equals 4/12, or reduced, that's the same as 1/3. Okay, let's go on. Numbers 3 and 4. Number 3, write it down, please. X over 2 plus 1 is equal to 1/4 x minus 6. When I see a problem like this, I'd like to go ahead and rewrite it so that it's a little easier for us to read. Remember that x alone always has a coefficient 1 in front of it, so I can write this way. 1/2 x plus 1 equals 1/4 x minus 6. That would be exactly the same equation. I'm just changing the form a little bit to make it easier to understand. All right, so I have two x terms on opposite sides of my equal sign. I've got positive 1/2 x on the left. I have positive 1/4 x on the right. I want to remove one of them, and I like to choose the smaller of the two to remove. So which would be smaller, 1/2 or 1/4? Well, of course, 1/4 is smaller. It's positive 1/4, so let's subtract 1/4 x from here. Whatever we do to one side, we're also going to do to the other. Okay? So 1/2 x minus 1/4 x is 1/4 x. Bring down the plus 1 equals 1/4 x minus 1/4 x cancel each other out, and this is negative 6. Don't leave the negative sign behind, please. All right, now we have a simple two-step equation. Let's go ahead and solve. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So here we have 1/4 x is equal to negative 7. And then in order to divide by 1/4, dividing by 1/4 is multiplying by the reciprocal 4/1, or 4, and whatever I do on one side, I'll do on the other. And so x equals negative 28. And that would be my solution. Okay, number 4, copy it down. 1.3c equals 3.3c plus 2.8. All right, again, I just like to identify our variable terms. 1.3c, 3.3c. So again, I need to remove one of those since those are on opposite sides of my equal sign, and I always like to remove the smaller term. But notice with me, 1.3c is the smaller term, and that's usually the one that I would like to remove first, but it's the only thing on the left side of my equation. If I remove 1.3c, I'm left with nothing on the left side of the equation. So when you have that situation, then go ahead and remove the larger of the two variable terms. So the opposite operation, the inverse operation here would be subtracting 3.3c. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. Okay, let's go ahead and subtract. 1.3c minus 3.3c would give us 2c is equal to, that cancels out, positive 2.8. All right, now we have to undo that multiplication by dividing by 2. And so c equals 1.4, and that would be my solution. Okay, multi-step equations sometimes include solving equations that have grouping symbols, like parentheses. So the first thing you have to do is simplify the expression using distributive property, and then work on isolating the variable to one side of the equation using inverse operations and solve. Okay, so our first step on number 5, copy it down first. 8s minus 10 is equal to 3, open parentheses, 6 minus 2s, close parentheses. So notice here's my grouping symbol. It's not, that equation is not simplified until that grouping symbol is gone. And the way to remove it is to distribute that 3. So let's do that. That would be our first step. 8s, and I'll use a cursive S so that you won't confuse it for a 5. 8s minus 10 is equal to 18 minus 6s. Okay, now I have an equation that has variable terms on both sides. Notice with me that they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, so I do need to remove one of them. And of course, I always like, again, to remove the smaller of the two. And in this case, I can. So which is smaller, 8s or negative 6s? Well, of course, negative 6 is smaller. To remove a negative 6s or a minus 6s, I'd have to add 6s. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. Okay, let's go ahead and write the resulting equation. 8s plus 6s is 14s minus 10 is equal to 18. All right, now we're down to a two-step equation. Let's add 10 on both sides. I'm left with 14s is equal to 28. And of course, my last step is divide by 14 on both sides. And I'm left with s is equal to 2. That is my solution. Please notice I don't skip any steps. I show the work for every single step, as you should as well. Okay, number 6, please write it down. 7, open parentheses, n minus 1, close parentheses. Let me start over. 7, open parentheses, n minus 1 equals negative 2, open parentheses, 3 plus n, close parentheses. Okay, so you will distribute the 7, and then you will distribute the negative 2 there. You'll write that equation and then solve on your own. Pause the video now. Come on back and check your answer when you're done. Okay, check your answer. N equals 1/9 is your solution. Check your work step by step and make sure you got that solution correct. Okay, number 7 and number 8 you will try on your own. Pause the video now. Okay, let's look at number 7. When we remove the 12x from both sides, notice that the variable disappears. And when we bring down the resulting equation, we're left with negative 5 equals negative 5. And that is true. Negative 5 equals negative 5 is called an identity. Therefore, the solution to this equation is all real numbers. No matter what value you place for the x, replace the x with, this equation will be true. All right, on number 8, the exact opposite happens. When we remove the variable term 6y, we're left with an equation that reads negative 30 equals 20, but we know that negative 30 is not equal to 20. So it is an untruth, and when that happens, then you know that there is no solution possible. There is no solution to this equation. Number 9. Find the value of x so that both figures have the same perimeter. So go ahead and copy down the two figures that I have on here. We have a rectangle that has a length of 2x and a width of x plus 13. And we have a triangle with 3 different side lengths, 3x plus 4, 5x plus 1, and 2x plus 5. So let's reread the instructions so that we know what we're looking for. It says, find the value of x so that both figures have the same perimeter. So that both figures have equal perimeters. Okay, so if I were to write an equation, or an expression actually, for the perimeter of this rectangle, what I would do is I would want to add all 4 sides. So I'll write it this way. 2x plus 2x plus x plus 13 plus x plus 13. You could also have 2 open parentheses, 2x plus x plus 13. Either way would have worked. So that is the expression for the perimeter of the rectangle. And we're saying find the value of x so that that is equal to the perimeter of the triangle. And we know that to find the perimeter of a triangle, we'll add the three sides. So let's write that expression. 3x plus 4 plus 5x plus 1 plus the third side, which is 2x plus 5. So that's a mighty long equation, but very simple to solve. Let's start by simplifying both sides. We can combine like terms here. 2x plus 2x is 4x, plus x is 5x, plus another x leaves us with 6x. Let's go ahead and add our constants. 13 plus 13 is 26. So we have simplified the left side of the equation. Now let's simplify the right. Again, combining like terms. 3x plus 5x is 8x, plus another 2x gives us 10x. And let's add our constants. Positive 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 5 is 10. So here we have an equation with a variable term on either side of the equal sign. Now recall, once again, that what we want to do is remove one of those terms so then we can isolate the variable on one side. And we prefer, if possible, to remove the smaller of the two terms. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to remove the 6x by subtracting 6x, and whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. Bring down the resulting equation. 26 equals 4x plus 10. Simple two-step equation. We're going to subtract 10 on both sides. 16 is equal to 4x. We're going to divide both sides by 4. And so 4 is equal to x. In other words, in order for the perimeter of both of these figures to be equal, x has to equal 4. Okay, let's go ahead and get some independent practice down. On this page, I'd like you to do number 4, number 9, number 13, and number 15. On this page, you're going to do 4, 9, and 13. Okay, we will go over these tomorrow. Don't forget, please, to jot down any questions you have on this video, on this lesson. Anything that was unclear to you, I'd like to clarify for you first thing. Okay, God bless you. Have a great night.